The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. John Milton, Paradise Lost. What is evil? Is it a force, an external entity that corrupts, or is it simply the absence of good, a void rather than a presence? Philosophers, theologians, and writers have struggled with this question for centuries, yet the answer remains elusive, shifting with time, culture, and perception. Milton's Satan in Paradise Lost is perhaps one of the most compelling explorations of evil in literature. He is not a monstrous, incomprehensible figure, but a being of intellect, pride, and defiance. His rebellion against God is not born from malice alone, but from a twisted sense of justice, a refusal to submit. His infamous declaration, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven," captures the intoxicating allure of defiance, but also the tragedy of self-destruction. Is Satan truly evil, or merely the first existentialist, carving his own meaning in a universe where submission is the law? Nietzsche, in Beyond Good and Evil, dismantles the binary opposition of morality. He argues that what we call evil is often just power in a form that threatens established norms. He asks, who gets to define evil, the weak or the strong? To him, morality itself is a construct of historical forces. What is condemned in one era is celebrated in another. The heretics burned at the stake became saints, the rebels of the past became kings. Yet, even if morality is subjective, evil remains a tangible presence in the world. We have seen it in history, in war, in genocide, in the cold calculations of cruelty. It is not just a philosophical abstraction, but a reality written in blood. Some argue that evil is a force, something metaphysical, beyond human comprehension. Others, like Augustine, define it simply as privatio boni, the absence of good. But is that enough? Can something as monstrous as human cruelty be reduced to mere absence? The essence of evil seems to lie in contradiction. It can be a force of destruction, but also of creation, fueling art, ambition, and change. It can be seductive, yet horrifying. It is, as Milton suggested, something the mind itself shapes. Perhaps that is the greatest horror of all, that evil is not something outside of us, lurking in shadows, but something we create, justify, and sometimes even embrace. The sad truth is that most evil is done by people who never make up their minds to be good or evil. Hannah Arendt, Eichmann in Jerusalem. We like to think of evil as something grand, operatic, figures cloaked in darkness, their laughter echoing through time. We imagine Lucifer's defiance, Macbeth's blood-stained ambition, or even the Joker's anarchic chaos. But history tells a different story. True evil is often mundane, bureaucratic, and frighteningly normal. Hannah Arendt, in her account of Adolf Eichmann's trial, coined the phrase the banality of evil. She observed that Eichmann, one of the architects of the Holocaust, was not a monster, at least not in the way we like to imagine. He was not a raving madman, not a sadistic executioner reveling in cruelty. He was an efficient, obedient bureaucrat. A man who followed orders, filled out forms, and carried out genocide as if it were just another administrative task. When questioned, he did not see himself as evil. He did not even think deeply about what he was doing. He simply followed the system. This is the most terrifying kind of evil, not the villainous mastermind, but the ordinary person who surrenders their conscience to a machine. George Orwell captured this idea in 1984, where an entire system of oppression functions not through the cruelty of a single dictator, but through the silent compliance of countless clerks, soldiers, and informants. O'Brien, the party member who tortures Winston, is not driven by sadistic pleasure. He is a true believer, a man who has convinced himself that his actions are necessary. How many atrocities have been committed not by those who actively seek destruction, but by those who simply refuse to resist? The neighbor who turns away, the employee who just does their job, the soldier who follows orders without question. This is the silent machinery of evil. Dostoevsky, in The Brothers Karamazov, presents the Grand Inquisitor, a figure who argues that humanity does not want freedom but security, that people will willingly hand over their moral responsibility to an authority that promises them order. This is how evil perpetuates itself, not through grandiose villainy, but through systems that train people to stop thinking, to stop questioning. We tell ourselves that we would never be like them, that we would stand against injustice. But history suggests otherwise. The question is not whether evil exists in the world, it does. The question is whether we are complicit in it, whether we allow it to continue through silence, through obedience, through the small daily choices that shape the fate of nations. Evil is not always a shadowy figure in the dark. Sometimes it wears a suit, carries a briefcase, and clocks out at 5 p.m. The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. Evil has always been more than just destruction. It is desire, temptation, and the forbidden thrill of transgression. Why do people choose it, even when they know it will lead to ruin? Because evil seduces. It whispers promises of power, pleasure, and freedom from consequence. Few figures in literature embody this more than Dr. Faustus, who sells his soul for knowledge and power. Marlowe's Faustus is not an ignorant man. He is a scholar, a thinker. He does not fall into evil by accident. He leaps into it, fully aware of the price he must pay. And yet, in the face of damnation, he hesitates, he doubts, he regrets. But by then, it is too late. The stars move still, time runs, the clock will strike, the devil will come, and Faustus must be damned. Faust's tragedy is that he chooses evil not for destruction, rather, but for greatness. And this is what makes the seduction of evil so powerful. It offers something grand, something intoxicating. Think of Shakespeare's Macbeth, whose ambition drives him to murder. He begins as a loyal subject, a noble warrior, but when the witches whisper their prophecy, a fire is lit within him. Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. Macbeth knows that his ambition will lead him to bloodshed, yet he cannot resist. And once the first step is taken, there is no turning back. Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray presents another form of this seduction. Dorian does not seek power. He seeks beauty, eternal youth, a life untainted by consequence. His portrait absorbs his sins, allowing him to indulge in every pleasure without facing decay. But the corruption remains, hidden from sight, growing more monstrous with each indulgence. Wilde understood something fundamental. Evil is not always ugly. Sometimes it is beautiful. Sometimes it wears a charming smile. Even in reality, history is filled with leaders, ideologies, and movements that seduced people with promises of strength, unity, and meaning. The most dangerous forms of evil do not force themselves upon us. They invite us in, offering something we already secretly desire: power, control, revenge. And so evil is not just an external force. It is a choice, an invitation. Some accept it willingly. Some tell themselves they will only take a small taste. But evil, once embraced, is never satisfied. It demands more. It is not the monster under the bed that destroys us. It is the quiet voice inside, whispering, "Why not?